As I told you before the break, we are having a guest here that has had a devastating story about his wife's illness, and what has happened is absolutely outrageous. And he's devastated, but he feels that he wants to talk about this before he tries to go on with his life and recover. He wants to talk about this because he wants other people that are facing a similar situation to be prepared and know what to do. So, are you there, John? John, are you there? We got you on.
Yeah, hi. This is John Smith.
Hi. So we wanted you to explain your story.
Yeah, my wife was diagnosed with cancer in December 2007, and she was immediately scared into putting in a catheter, and told she had to have chemo first and surgery because the chemo will shrink the tumor, and she agreed to the catheter, but as we looked into it, we decided not to use chemo but to use alternative treatments, and the alternative treatments were successful, and the doctors kept saying, you're going to die, it's going to spread. It has spread. They do those imagings, and they interpret freely. They really play very loose with interpreting, like PET scans and CAT scans and all that stuff. And they keep contradicting themselves, and they keep telling you you're going to die. Time passes and you don't die, and they get mad, and we have managed to avoid, but then it was a bad luck that it was taking too much vitamin D, and she had to go to the hospital to flush out the excess calcium that comes from that, and of course, they jumped on us right away. We were profiled as hillbillies who don't believe in medicine, and they immediately said that she must be in a lot of pain for some morphine, or an equivalent of morphine that is actually worse. It's called hydromorphone. They call it dilaudid, D-I-L-A-U-D-I-D. That sounds like diluted. I mean, they're even cynical as they hurt people. And so I said no. I'm her husband, and she's she's almost in coma because of that calcium thing, overuse of vitamin D. She doesn't have pain. They said, "Well, look at this cancer." I said, "This is not cancer. This has been treated." "Oh, there is no such treatment. Has she taken chemo?" No, she didn't take chemo, but she took something better. There is no such thing. If she has taken chemo, then she must be saying, we just have to put her on this hydromorphone, this morphine-like drug, and ease her pain. And you have choices, either hospice or, nursing home. So which of it it's going to be? I said, we're going home, and we went home, but they didn't let go, and it turns out because of that port, because of that catheter she had put in, suggested by the oncologist long ago, and they wouldn't want to take it out, although she didn't take chemo. We said we wanted that port out. They said, oh, it's harmless, it can stay there. But it turns out it has caught a nasty bug at the same hospital that gave her, basically water flushing of her overdose of vitamin D, that they got her infected with E-Coli. And she started having chills, and we didn't know it was E-Coli until like 2 months later, because the doctor who wanted to give her the morphine, he wouldn't want to diagnose, and he wouldn't let any other doctors diagnose. He kept calling the doctors, the other doctors we tried to get diagnosis from for her chills, and saying, well, this cancer case, this is with us, you stay out of it. So in the end, the E-Coli was treated, but after it has really worn her out, she was very frail. And they got mad because we treated the E-Coli. So what do? And they convinced the family, or the family convinces them. I mean, this is what really got me. It's the lack of judgment of the rest of the family, their trust in doctors. This is what basically took Pat's life. They called the doctor and said she's not getting enough medical attention, and so they came and picked her up, and they took her to the hospital, and of course she started talking about the morphine. They said we can't do anything for her. So why did you take her to my home then? I was taking care of her, and she was alive and eating and walking. So they took her to my home and immediately said we can't do anything for her. They stopped her feeding, they stopped her liquids, and they started giving her morphine against her will. She said, I don't want it, and she had 2 witnesses for that. I said, I don't want it. I'm her husband, and she's out. She's in some kind of coma because of the morphine they gave her. Initially, I wanted to stop the morphine. They won't stop it. Although she said no, they kept giving her the morphine. Within 24 hours, her heart stopped, and she died. And that's it. I don't know who to blame, and I don't know whether I would want to do anything about it. What is comforting me is that after she died, her upset face relaxed and turned into a smile. So I believe she's in heaven, and that's my only comfort. But I really want those people punished, and I don't think they're going to get their punishment in a world that looks up to them and where everybody around you trusts doctors and refuses to take a stand. And it would call you a rebel. It would call you someone who is, not mainstream. And there is so much support for this fascist medical system that kills people. With chemo, and if you don't take the chemo, then they kill you with morphine or with fear, and that's what happened to me.
It's a horrible story, and it's really something that people should be aware of, because I've seen it many times, Mr. Smith. What happens is that people refuse chemo, all of a sudden they become somebody that they have to crush one way or another. So they either convince you to take chemo and then everything is fine. If not, they're going to punish you. And if you're in the hospital, you probably end up dying. And that's what happened to your wife, and it happened to others that I know. And
they're morphine pushers. I mean, as soon as we entered the hospital, they for morphine. They sent in the pharmacist who praised morphine. I couldn't believe it. I mean, morphine, that's opium. We go to Afghanistan and we get all that opium, and I guess now all the doctors are pushing opium, opiates, and that kind of morphine stuff as the only painkiller. The only painkiller. They said there is no other painkiller. Can you believe it?
It's just unbelievable. And also, she wasn't really in that much of a pain.
No, she did not have pain.
Yeah. Okay, we got another. Thanks, Mr. Smith. Next section, we're going to take calls if somebody wants to ask questions. And now we go on a commercial break. Thanks. We're back, and Mr. Smith is still here. If anybody wants to call and ask him a question, call. The number is 866-986-6397. Again, 866-986-6397. You can ask him question, whatever you might have to clarify. He is upset, and it's pretty understandable. So he was breaking up a bit, but he's willing to help, and he's willing to let people know what happened. So if they face a similar situation, they will be prepared and know what to do. Because the worst part about all of this is where you're not prepared. You don't know what you're going to face, and when it hits you, you're just not taken back. You don't know what to do. The other danger is the very skilled way of the medical to convince people. And so if they cannot get away with convincing directly the patient, when the patient is an adult, then they go after other family member.